IDK, nice. The freedom. Daddy Turkstra. Wow. DS is a major too. That's true. DS is a major. Better than engineering, true. Food? Food? What? Are you serious? Programming? Nerd? Uh, interesting.
How are the Turkstrom memes spreading already? Is
Yeah,
he
it's
teaching
already
180s?
starting. Wait, we're hosting a workshop
It's way
tomorrow.
too early for Turkstrom memes.
We're
What?
hosting a workshop tomorrow. We're hosting an Intro to CS workshop tomorrow. Make sure to come to get some deets on some professors. I'm gonna keep it. Okay. So basically, Shruti is managing the slides, but I'm in a. I'm DMing her right now, so I'll tell her when to switch slides and whatnot. Okay. So there'll be a little bit of lag, but that's fine. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. So. Okay. So we are Purdue hackers. We are we have been around for quite a bit. I think 5-ish years or so. And essentially, we are built around this idea of hacking. I'll go into what hacking exactly is and what are sort of what the things that we do are. So it's not hacking as in like, oh, we're trying to break into the mainframe, or we're trying to hacking the Pentagon. It's nothing like that. It's more so taking different aspects of things and building it together into a cohesive product. Okay, so just send. Okay, I'm on. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. So we are a community of students who collaborate, learn, and build kick-ass technical projects. Okay. So what we do is we provide an infrastructure for students and faculty members to kind of interact with the Purdue CS and DS environment. And a lot of other engineering majors. So we have a active front with IEEE where we host events with them. But essentially, our main goal is to build an environment where students can actively contact, collaborate, and build cool projects with them. As such, we host a variety of events that we'll get into a bit, and I'll get into what exactly we do, what our mission is, and the way we accomplish that. Oh, Shruti can hear now. Nice. Okay, cool. So to begin with, we'll talk about what the hackathon is. I think we have had 2 previous events. I think we were the Callout of Callouts. Maybe some of you guys were there, and we were at the Be Involved Fair, and I talked about this there. But we'll go a bit into depth here. So hackathons are pretty much a 24 to 36-hour period where where you build something. It's usually a software hack, but it could be hardware as well. And essentially, you're building a product to kind of accomplish some sort of goal. So it's not exactly like you're building the business aspect or anything like that. It's purely like technical, but you're trying to get something off the ground. So I remember, and Kevin, feel free to judge in anytime. But I remember my freshman year, Kevin was talking about hackathons. He was talking about how he traveled many places. He went to Harvard. He went to not Princeton. He went to Yale. He went many places, and that was sort of like one aspect of hackathons that really got me, which was you could go to many places. You could interact with many different kinds of people, and you could build a lot of cool stuff. And that's sort of what got me involved into not just Purdue hackers, but hackathons as well. Obviously, with COVID, this is a bit different. Things are moving very virtual. And I'm not even sure how the acceptance of some of the hackathons have changed. But essentially, these are learning periods where you essentially interact with some of the companies there, you build using their APIs, and you try to essentially, obviously you're there to win, but it's still a fun period. Kevin, do you want to add something to this?
You start to hit on it there. It's really a kind of context sensitive thing now, because, he mentioned I went to a lot of hackathons. I've been to probably like 14, 15 of them. And for me, a lot of it is the kind of like physical aspect of being, of traveling somewhere, meeting people, building a team, participating in events, building a project, not sleeping, that kind of stuff. That kind of builds onto that experience a little bit. And you might kind of be wondering, how does that kind of convert to a virtual format? We've seen some schools try it. Hack Illinois hosted something early last month. Hack MIT is coming up like next week. But online hackathons have always been a thing. It just kind of shifts the focus more onto the actual development process and the product. And you might be into that. You might be a little less into it. I'd say give it a try. In the worst case, hopefully next year we'll have physical hackathons again in some sense. But of course, we're sort of working with what we know right now about how things are going to go.
I kind of want to touch upon the benefits of attending hackathons apart from it being a fun aspect. So as a freshman, most of you guys, I didn't know what a hackathon was, and my resume was also very lackluster. So a hackathon allows you to essentially, have something on your resume right out the gate as a freshman, right? I still have like a few hackathon projects on my resume, and I talk about them very frequently in my interviews. So for example, in my freshman year, I made a Chrome extension to detect fake news. So it was based on, without going into the technicalities of it, it was based on a lot of like machine learning concepts like natural language processing, cosine similarity, and so on and so forth. So whenever, an employer asks me, okay, tell me about your project, how did you build it, et cetera, I'm able to, grab a lot of these projects that I've done in the past, and I'm able to, tie in a cohesive story of, these are my interests, this is how I've done it, so on, and, how I can benefit your company if you hire me. So this sort of provides you first of all, it makes you feel more confident. It removes some of the imposter syndrome whenever you apply to these companies and you get these interviews, because you'll notice a lot of these questions are sort of geared towards towards what you have done, right? So it kind of feels bad if you haven't done much, but once you have that, experience under your belt, which is very easily acquirable if you have done a hackathon before, it provides a nice, talking point on your resume, or, that LinkedIn, so on and so forth. But yeah.
And you get to work on things outside of what you do in class. Like in class, you might be learning Java, you might be learning C, and just like building basic programs. Like my second or third hackathon was MHacks at Michigan. At that hackathon, they were letting people borrow Google Glass devices, and like I had very little coding experience at this point, and I built like an app for the Google Glass like AR device that also used like Azure machine learning stuff on the back end. And obviously I needed a lot of help for that. Like my freshman year, I wasn't that, I was very, it was a struggle building it, but like having that kind of thing instantly on my resume, it's a big confidence booster. It was something cool that I can think about. It encouraged me to keep doing CS stuff. And in general, having projects outside of your classwork is something anybody, whether they're doing hackathons or not, like should strive to have on their resume.
Yeah, and just to touch upon the slide a little bit more, I know we're going very in depth into what this is, but this is a very huge aspect of our club, is that a lot of times you're able to build successful startups or like actual monetizable products. So a lot of times this doesn't happen naturally because it's very hard doing this, but many times you will notice actually, especially if you go to like a very entrepreneurial like college. So For example, when I went to Hack Harvard, I was teamed up with a dude who was doing his MBA at the Harvard Business School, right? So he didn't have too much coding experience. He used to work as a product manager at YouTube, but basically his whole idea was, like, let's devise this project and make it as, MVP as possible, minimum viable product as possible. And let's try to, enter this into Harvard's incubator, right? Unfortunately, I don't think it went too far. We were able to build this web app, which was really cool. We didn't win anything, but it was about the minimum viable product. But obviously, it's you're building a product. So if you can sell it, you should try selling it, and you can get some cool results, like some of the examples that you see on the slide. With some cool pictures of what a hackathon. I think this is bus is for MHacks on the left, the top left corner. But anyways, this is just generally, cool, fun environment. A lot of this won't be happening obviously because of COVID, but this, I don't know. So going to what we actually do other than hackathons. So we obviously host and organize a lot of these kind of hacking events, but we host other kind of events, and that's mostly where our club shines at. I like to describe it as an event agglomerator. We essentially host all sorts of events ranging from technical to like just social events. And these are some of the past events that we have had. We have had, Silicon Valley Hackers Marathon. We have had Smash with Bloomberg. But at the same time, we had, things like React workshops, machine learning workshops. Kind of a very, we host a variety of events to get the community involved into kind of, cohesive sort of structure. I've met a lot of people through a lot of these events. A lot of these people are, some of the best friends that I've had today. But at the same time, I've done a lot of cool stuff too. I've been able to host a lot of cool events and workshops. And as I was talking about, about resume points, this is something nice to bring up whenever you're talking to someone. You can be like, I hosted this workshop. There were 50 people here, and I taught this topic. And obviously, that goes to show that if you're able to explain something, relatively non-trivial, it's a major bonus plus on your resume. Is Chris here? Okay, yes, Chris, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, so Hello World is a hackathon that we have every year. And what's special about Hello World is it is exclusively for freshmen. And so as they kind of touched on before, this year we're going online because of COVID. We're not allowed to have the event in person. We're gonna get applications out for this soon. And so there's a couple of things about Hello World that make it unique. One of them is that it's for freshmen only. And the reason that's really important is because it kind of evens the playing field. I know when I was a freshman and I went to like Boilermake, which is Purdue's like general hackathon, I definitely felt like more intimidated because, there's all these seniors there who are doing things that you can't even fathom. But when it's just freshmen, you're kind of on a more even playing field. And then another thing that we're going to have is we're going to have mentors there. So we're going to have mentors there who know all the common development techniques and libraries and whatever, and they'll be able to help you guys build out whatever projects that you can think of. So stay tuned for more information about this very soon. We're going to launch applications really soon for this. We're going to have about 300 freshmen. And yeah, I hope to see you guys there. It should be a good experience.
Make sure to follow them on Instagram. Is there anything else you want to plug other than Instagram?
Actually, yeah, if you follow us on Instagram, I think it's Hello World Purdue. That'll probably be the easiest, most direct way to get information as soon as we get it. So let me just confirm. Yes, it is Hello World Purdue. So yeah, that'll be the most direct way to get information as soon as it happens.
Also, as you see in the past, Microsoft sponsors the event. So this is a nice time to talk to sort of the seniors at Microsoft. You can hand them your resume. It's always nice to connect to, company recruiters and whatnot. Even because there's always opportunities about how to get involved. And it's just, a nice thing to get your foot into the door. Okay, yeah, so our first event is actually happening tomorrow. So Introduce CS will essentially be a workshop. I guess it's more of a talk, I guess, but we'll be talking about some of the deets, secrets, and whatnot of the, of Purdue CS. So classes, what are tracks, research, internships, jobs, a lot of these things that you might you definitely need to know, and we'll provide the information in the most succinct way possible. Look at the Bitly link. That's where that's our Zoom link for tomorrow's event. It's from 6 to 7 p.m. I highly recommend everyone here to join. This will be a very, very cool event. And I mean, yeah, that's what it is. And there'll be I guess that's what it is. Yeah. Is there anything else that we're talking about for Introduce CS that I didn't mention? Research, jobs, internships? I don't know. Just things that you should know. It's important. You should come. Okay. So Shruthi, you can talk about this a bit, but I'll just quickly, talk about this. Applications are currently open for PH. You don't need to have any experience. And I think Shruthi will provide a bit more details as to how our application process will be handled this year. You're muted. Or I guess you're not muted, but no one can. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. It's either I can talk or I can hear, so that's great. But okay, so our applications are open now. It's at the Bitly link. It's just a very simple form to schedule or just select what times you're available to talk to one of us. It's going to be super informal. You don't have to have any experience at all. We have a couple of positions open. We have the communications lead, which is just like PR and marketing. We have a designs lead, or we even have a webmaster, which that would be good if you have experience for web dev. We also have just regular organizer positions where you just we meet up every Tuesday. More details about that later, but we just come up with events like this and just organize all the logistics and stuff and plan future events. To repeat, the interview process is very simple, very informal. We just really want to get to know you one-on-one in person, just to see what your interests are and then why you think it'll be a good fit. It's not very selective. Don't be scared of anything. But it closes next Friday, September 18th, midnight. I mean, don't wait till the last minute. Just try to get it in as early as possible. It's a very simple application. And yeah, and after that, we'll just tell you what time slots we're available, and we'll schedule a time so we can all just talk one-on-one. And then you'll get to know more about the process during the interview.
Okay. And just to clarify for the last slide, sorry, this is kind of a hodgepodge a bit, but Microsoft is not sponsoring Hello World this year. Just wanted to clarify that, but sorry. Okay, I think someone asked a question. This form is only for people who want officer positions, right? You want to expand on that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So it's not just officer positions. We have, well, technically you're the officers of Purdue, but we have a very laid back structure compared to other orgs where we have a bunch of organizers, which are considered an official position for us, where you just help with all the logistics and everything. And yeah, so if you want an executive position, you can say you're interested in that, but you're also more than welcome just to be an organizer, which is what I'm doing now.
But more broadly, if we run an event, you don't have to, interview and be a part of us to join one of our public events, like the one tomorrow, for example. Those are, you can just be a member and just join into those.
Yeah, that Kevin said it, but I just want to touch upon that a bit more. People ask us about the time commitment for the club. Or you can go to the next slide. That's fine. Yeah. So basically, we host a variety of events, and obviously it depends on kind of the position you're doing in terms of the organizational purpose. So for example, as Shruti mentioned, we're a very laid back club. So if you want to organize an event, so for example, I'll just speak from personal experience. Last semester, last semester I hosted a autonomous vehicle workshop, right? Because I was very interested in that. So from that perspective, I had probably the most work, which was organizing the notes and the slides, and then the rest of the team basically handled the advertisement purposes, and putting up flyers, things like that, making sure that people knew about this, updated the calendar, things like that, right? So it really depends on if you're actually hosting the workshop or kind of like what position you are. But in general, on average, there's a 1 to 2 hour commitment, I would say, right, Shruti, for Purdue hackers every week. And this sort of flexibility allows you to do a lot of things, take in as much responsibility as you might need, or sort of lay back if you're busy. But in general, we meet every week on Tuesday, and this is sort of the things that we talk about, which is a lot of the logistics, a lot of the events that we're planning. Sometimes we host events with professors, so that involves actually going to their office and talking. Obviously, this will change a lot this semester, but it involves communicating with different professors, different clubs, kind of organizing information. So sometimes whenever we're collaborating with clubs, we need to make sure that we're not impeding on some other club's schedule. So there's a lot of logistic, organizational, and a lot of ideas that sort of goes into making any of these events come to life, right? So that's kind of what we talk about on a weekly basis. So these are sort of like the tentative events for this semester. As we have as I said, we have the Intro to CS workshop tomorrow. We'll be hosting a LinkedIn workshop at CSWN, and as we continue, we'll be posting a lot of these events. If you have any ideas, let us know. We take suggestions very easily. So so recently, a lot of people have become interested in quantitative analysis. So last semester, we hosted a predicting stock workshop, which was pretty cool. That was purely because a lot of people expressed interest in that. But yeah, okay. Cool. Sure, we can go to the next slide. I'll look at some of the questions. But basically, these are ways to reach us. We host our events on Facebook, Instagram. Slack is probably one of the best ways of, if you want to hit up someone's particular, like if you want to ask maybe Kevin something very specific, you can hit him up on there. Or you can find our emails too. That's not a big deal too. But make sure that you sign up for a mailing list on our site. So if you go on PurdueHackers.com, it should be the first thing, join our mailing list. Our emails usually get Cisco spammed. So always keep an eye out for the Cisco spam messages, which is it's very annoying, but that's how it is. A lot of other clubs suffer from the same thing. You can't do much about it. But and if you're interested, please sign up for our application, get that in ASAP. The due date is 18th, but you don't want to miss that. And we'll be sending out interviews soon afterwards. But that's about it. If you guys want to add something, please feel free.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I just want to do a quick poll just to see what platforms you guys are using and what you prefer. So this is actually a new Mentee link. So if you just go there and just rank your options, just so we know what's the best way and what you prefer.
Okay, so in the meantime, I'll quickly go through a few of the questions. Yes, we're recording this video and this will be published on our YouTube. Can I please have a link to the form? Yeah, sure. We'll get that to you in a bit. Okay, I think that's about it. Email. Also, by the way, I know many of you guys are freshmen, but I would highly recommend that you guys become more active on Facebook. At least in terms of finding events and whatnot, Facebook is the best. So many times, I know it's kind of lame to use Facebook, but really that's what it's good for now. Sometimes when I was bored on Friday nights or Saturday nights, I would just go through the event page and hit up one of those events or something like that. So it's really like the best way to like find what's going on in the area. I guess this is mainly for people who are on campus, but just something to keep in mind. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess email. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like nobody uses Facebook anymore. Like I think it was just like my freshman year, everyone used it. Kind of died down after that.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
okay. Okay, yeah. So if you guys want to just ask us any questions, go ahead. You can ask them here. You can ask them in Zoom chat. Doesn't really matter.
What is Slack?
Slack.
I can take a bite at that. So Slack is a very common application that is used by many companies in the industry, but essentially it's a way to organize communication. So essentially you have multiple channels. So like, for example, maybe general, maybe random, or maybe something more specific, like if you're working at Apple, for example, and like the Xcode team, it might be Xcode dev tools, right? So this is a way to like organize communication to make sure that everything is where you can find it easily. And that's kind of like why we also use it, because, you know, we're not only just talking about like, you know, events, we're talking about like other things. Like maybe if you're traveling to a hackathon, for example, we might want to dedicate a separate channel to that for things like, okay, this is the bus, this is when it's going to arrive, this is kind of the things that you need to know for the hackathon, etc., etc.
There's
Slack
some
is
here.
like professional Discord. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just for how long should interviews be? It's probably going to be, we've scheduled it so there's like a 20-minute time slot, but like anywhere around 20 minutes roughly. So yeah. Kevin, do you want to take this?
Yeah.
Quick, Viraat, whoever. How can I have a successful first hackathon?
Yeah, I mean, Viraat can add to this, but don't trap yourself into working alone. Surround yourself with other people. Try to split up. You know, if you're with teammates who have experience in certain areas, then, you know, leverage that knowledge and learn from them. That's a lot of the like, it's such a you'll be really surprised how quickly you can learn a new skill, like a framework or a language or something like that, even in like a 24 or 36-hour window. So, you know, make sure you make it a social experience, and we're focus on finding the best way to work as a team, and like don't overlap your work too much. Have a creative, clever idea. Don't be worried about getting, you know, the final bug-free product. A lot of times you can be successful if you have just a really good idea and like the start of some work, or like some kind of like you know, not totally functional demo of like how that idea starts forming. And then you know, usually there's some judging process where you're going to be interacting directly with judges, and you can explain to them, you know, this is my idea, this is kind of where I would go if I had more time, this is kind of where I struggled, this is what I learned. Try to, you know, don't be really obsessed with having a perfect final product.
Yeah, I think Kevin pretty much hit it on all. I just want to quickly add to that. Don't spend too much time on getting the idea. That's a common trap. And like, most of all, go with a positive attitude. If you think it's like your first event, first hackathon, you might think that you're doomed to fail. But to be fair, my first hackathon at Hello World is probably like my best hackathon ever. I spent the most time working on it. I had so much fun on the project because the idea was amazing. And I talk about it so much in my interviews and whatnot, even though I literally did not know how to code, right? Because I just was like, you know, I had a very open attitude about it. I had amazing like teammates, and it was like a very nice experience for me. So positive attitude is definitely the key to success here. What do you talk about the events? Do you want to take this one, Shruthi?
Sure, yeah. So our meetings, generally, it's like a 1 hour time slot, but really depends on whether we're approaching an event or not. So most of the discussions just, like, what events do we want to do? Like, what do people want to see? Like some events are like stuff we do regularly, like our track workshop where we talk about like all the CS tracks. The intro to CS is actually something new we brought in this year, and the call out we do it every semester, but it's just coming together, pitching in ideas and seeing like how we can plan out the rest of our semester. And then as the event approaches, we talk about like, oh, how are we going to handle the event? I mean, a lot of stuff's different now. Earlier it'd be like, oh, are we going to get food or all of that, but we don't have that good stuff anymore. So it's just who's going to talk, who's doing the slides, and just who can we get to talk. A lot of the stuff, like we used to do a lot of tech talks or stuff, or like lunch and learns with companies. So we would coordinate with them and talk about reaching out to different companies and seeing if they had anything they wanted to talk about. That's pretty much what our meetings are. Okay, I'm just gonna mark that. Discord for the win. Well, we don't have one yet, but if you guys really want one, then you're gonna have to make a case for it.
Sige,
you can always swap over.
Yeah. Do we?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
join our organizing team and convince us. I mean, I promise you'll be familiar with Slack at some point in your life, unless Microsoft Teams takes over. But yeah, honestly, it's a valid idea that to swap to Discord if people are interested in that. But yeah, join the organizing team.
Any resume events? Yeah, I can talk about this a bit. So actually, I don't want to say a few, but we are having our LinkedIn workshop with CSWN. Oh, CSWN is Computer Science Women's Network, and we are collaborating with them. I think we might host another one, which is just like, towards like the later part of the year. But we're not sure. But right now, the LinkedIn workshop that CSWN is planned, it's going to be sometime around September 18th, I believe. I'm not sure about the date, and we'll be releasing that information soon.
I know there's career fairs coming up really soon, so if you're nervous about your resume, reach out to the CCO, they'll help you with it, or reach out to a CS student, veteran CS student. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would be happy to help you.
Okay.
And just to add, like, as we said, Purdue Hackers is all about building community. So if you ever need any help, like, we are your resources. So if you feel like, oh, you really need tips with the new career fair and stuff, which we'll obviously go over tomorrow as well. But like, if you need advice, you can always reach out to us at our email or our Slack once you get it.
Okay. Do you want to answer this one, Kevin or Shruthi? Okay, I'll just go. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
We do.
I mean, yeah, you go. I mean, I think you can take this one. You can take this one. I can add on to it. Up to you.
Okay, but yeah. No, this is a pretty simple answer. I'll kind of go through it a bit. So whenever you sign up for Purdue Hackers, you submit your resume and you submit like all of these different information. And we're not just doing that so that we can like, mine your resume and like, make ours better or something like that. Okay. It's usually because companies ask us for resumes many times, particularly Facebook. Obviously, I say this all with a star because a lot of it has changed this semester, but we're very, so I was talking about this earlier, but you're sort of like the glue between Purdue CS, the students, and like companies outside as well, right? So a lot of companies hit us up with a lot of these opportunities coming on. So we have kind of like the direct pathway to a lot of these companies. And usually they ask us to host these events, host recruiting events for them, and we kind of do that. And this also involves, kind of agglomerating resumes and, handing it to these companies. And obviously, we host a lot of events to help people get internships and workshops, because that's also one of our focuses, because our interests are pretty much aligned with what the population of CS students are aligned with, and internships are like one of the biggest ones, right? So obviously, and feel free to add.
Yeah, we work directly with like, I mean, okay, sure. We work directly with who we have. Facebook, Bloomberg,
Microsoft.
We've had Qualcomm in the past, Microsoft multiple times. Yeah. So there have been so many like events we've had that directly connect people with those. Like I remember last year, I think it was the Bloomberg event, where like it was pretty much just chilling with some Bloomberg engineers and recruiters, and so it's a more casual setting where you can kind of meet these people, and learn about their paths and potentially share your own experiences and resumes with them.
I just want to quickly add to what Kevin said about Bloomberg. This is not related to the question whatsoever, but Bloomberg essentially, whenever we help us host them events, they bring in like cool stuff. So one of these years they brought their Bloomberg terminal, which is like the main product, and this is a $10,000 piece of software, and they were letting us play around with it, and it's just a phenomenal piece of software. And like the fact that I'm not sure if any of you guys trade stocks or anything like that, but it's really like nice to see like what these actual like hedge funds and banks actually use on a day-to-day basis to make these trades. But obviously, we get exposed to a lot of these cool things because a lot of these companies hit us up for a variety of these events.
Yeah, another biggie with recruiting is our obviously Hello World, because a lot of companies sponsor Hello World just to meet you guys, and they know it's a freshman only event, so they're coming to meet you, and that's why we kind of encourage you to submit your resume with the application. So we just like bulk send them to all the companies that are sponsoring us. So that's also a great way to get your name out there.
One of you guys can take this.
Yeah, if you want to go to other hackathons, do we need to join Purdue Hackers? Not at all. We're just like a connection point to just let you know there's stuff happening, because a lot of like other colleges reach out to us and just say like, oh, we're like having a hackathon, like can you like advertise this and stuff. So we're just that bridge. But you can definitely go without being part of Purdue Hackers. But it'll be nice to join us, kind of get a community going, so you have like a group of friends. But obviously everything's different this year. It's kind of hard to digest that, but you don't need to join Purdue Hackers to go to any hackathons.
Yeah, and when there's physical hackathons going on, they like some colleges will send buses to Purdue. Like Hack Illinois sometimes sends like two even. MHacks, like the farthest bus I know Cornell's even sent one for several years in the past. The farthest one I took was all the way up to Waterloo in Canada. It was like a 12-hour bus. They will literally like plot bus routes like to touch a couple of schools to grab students who applied and got accepted in and take them to those schools and back. And so like we sometimes handle communication with those teams that set up those hackathons, but like we don't strictly like they don't limit their applications to our members or anything, and we don't you can just apply. You don't have to be involved with PH in any way. We just kind of advertise and help with them and coordinate with them.
Our team structure, how are they going to be different this year? So I'm guessing this is kind of particular to the PH infrastructure. Shruti, do you want to answer this one? Because I think it's going to be very different, or slightly different at least.
Yeah, if you're talking about PH structure, I don't think there's going to be a huge difference, because pretty much what we do is when we have meetings, we just like all of us come, organizers, all the leads, they come to a room and we just like talk for like an hour. And now the difference is we're just going to do that over Zoom. So it's still going to be structured the same way. I think we're still going to have like our leads, like I said, the webmaster, communications, design, our president, our treasurer, and then our organizers on the side. I don't think there's too much of a difference in that. Viraat, do you have any?
Yeah, I kind of want to, Shruti pretty much hit all the main points. I kind of want to just distinguish, just because you kind of hold a position title doesn't necessarily mean that organizers, like for example, one of our comm directors is a bit missing in action. So right now, Kevin is handling a lot of the social media related things. But like my point is, it's not the roles aren't particularly exclusive. It's just that the role of I don't want to say the title holders kind of are automatically responsible for this unless they're busy that week or they choose to hand it over. So kind of going back to the whole it's a very balanced club. If it's hard to make the time commitment, you don't have to always do that. That's why we kind of recruit and make sure that, because you're all busy, right? You want to make sure that everyone has kind of an even load in terms of making sure the club is doing well and functioning as it's supposed to.
Yeah, just to plug joining and just signing up once again is just know that things are very different this year. So stuff we've done in the past, like the same formula is not going to work over and over again. So that's what I really want to hear from you and see like what you can get to like benefit, or like all the freshmen or like sophomores and stuff, just like benefiting from like the way everything's structured now. So definitely do sign up.
Yeah, so it's about 1 to 2 hours on average per week. I think Shruti also touched upon this a bit, but towards the event, it gets a bit, it could get a bit hectic because obviously there's more to do, but it never feels overwhelming, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, and always if you take up responsibility for an event and like you're not available, like by all means, like everyone helps out. There's no like sole person, like you do it, or if you don't do it, the event's over. It's very like, as Viraat said, it's very balanced. So don't worry about time commitment. Like we're all like students here. Like we know how it is to prioritize and stuff. So don't worry about that.
So Boilermake is going to be on January sometime. I forget the date. And it's going to be a virtual event as well. So this is actually kind of interesting because I'm not sure if you guys got the email today, but the spring semester will be starting on January 19th. So I'll have to ask the director of Boilermake if they're going to shift the starting of the event a bit later on, just because things might be a bit different now in terms of the timing. But that's when Boilermake is going to be, which is Purdue's premier hackathon. And I'm not sure if you guys know about any events that will be happening between now and Boilermake. So yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
Kevin,
amiright.io. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah.
The different positions are, so there's a few executive positions, which is just designs lead, communications lead, which is just PR and marketing, and the webmaster, which just like handles our website, like our Purdue Hackers website, and then it's just organizers. So those are the positions that are available. You can say you're interested in more than one. You're not limited to just saying you want to be one thing and not the other. So once we have a conversation with you, we can kind of like hone in on your interests and then just like decide from there.
We have a few niche ones as well, like the Hackathon Ambassador. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but the Hackathon Ambassador's job is pretty much to hit up different hackathons, make sure that they have their affairs in order, and we're basically on the same page when it comes to sending buses, advertisement, etc., etc.
Yeah, and like by all means, like if you're interested in design and you don't want to be like a design lead, just because you're an organizer doesn't stop you from taking part in like design or like PR or anything. Is just like we set like a title just so we like have a person who's responsible for something. So there's no boundaries here.
Oh, this is a good question. We don't have statistics on this, but a good number of our people, of our members are DS. Actually, I think we had a survey that went out a while ago that had the data on it, but I don't think we have a. It's if you're thinking that there aren't any DS majors in the club, that's not the case. We have a lot of DS majors. So obviously a lot of CS majors, then a lot of DS majors, and then we have a lot of people from the engineering majors that are also involved. I think I mentioned this, but we collaborate with IEEE as well, which is sort of the I wouldn't say it's the engineering equivalent of Purdue Hackers, but they're like the largest engineering club for engineers, actually. And sometimes our events sort of just overlap, so it just makes sense to hold them together. But yeah.
Yes, that's a very good question. We might, okay, looking at, that's something we have to think about, because we'll probably, if we want to make it flexible, we can do like, I guess 10 a.m. here should be a good time. But yeah, obviously if you're interested in international, like let us know, like we'll make it work. Don't feel like limited, like just because we're doing 6 p.m. now, it's only because we're all in the almost in the same time zone. So that's what works for us. But then obviously we can change that as things go ahead. Oh, we already answered this. So. Okay.
Okay.
So I think those are all the questions we have.
Here, do you want to wait for a minute or two just in case the motion?
Yeah, we'll stick around. Like, we'll be here. So if you just want to chat.
Also, I'm not sure if any of you guys joined us late, but we'll be posting this on YouTube. I'll quickly plug the YouTube channel in. But currently, it's a lackluster channel, but it will soon grow. We posted a video which was our most recent workshop, which was a stock prediction one. But other than that, there are like videos from 3 years ago if you want to check that out. But in case you missed an aspect of the talk or the call that you were interested in, feel free to go to the YouTube link. Yeah. Also, quickly, how should I plug in the Intro to CS workshop? So I just put in the Zoom link.
Yeah, and hopefully like everyone joins Facebook and Slack and Instagram and stuff. So
yeah, so we're hosting our Intro to CS tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST. Please do join. I think this is going to be a really, really important one. Definitely like one of our more important talks.
it'll be recorded also, for sure.
And yeah, the talk will be recorded as well. Yeah, but in case you have questions, which I'm suspecting there'll be a lot of questions. Okay, good. I don't have the link set up there.
Do we have to register for the interview to join, or is it only for a position? So I guess the application is just differentiating if you just want to like attend events we host, which is you're definitely part of Purdue Hackers, obviously, or if you want to be part of the more organizational side. So that's what the form is for. If you want to take part in actually like deciding like what events happen or just like be behind the discussion. So then you should fill out the form. Yeah, if you want to ask anything, you can just like come off mute too and just say something. Or we're just gonna all stare at each other.
You're also welcome to just email us, Facebook message on, we have a page on Facebook, reach out to one of us personally, whatever works, LinkedIn connection, email. It's all cool. I know some people might have questions they might want to ask in private, and that's okay.
I have a quick question. Is there a way for us to like form groups and work on projects on days that are not hackathons possibly?
That's a wonderful question. And yes, we actually, so we host particular events for this, like they're what ice cream nights, I think they're called. I'm not sure, but basically
cookies
hack
and
nights,
code.
sorry, that's it. Yeah. So we have those, but in general, we have our Slack channel that is always, people are just asking random things. So for example, I'm guessing, if you're taking CS 180 or something and you just want to like talk about your homework, I'm sure you can find people on there. Be sure to abide by the academic integrity principles. But I'm not sure if that answers the question or not. Are we gonna have hack nights this semester? Well, this year, I guess.
Well, we'll have to plan them.
True. I wonder how they'll look like. Also, feel free to email purduehackers@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can find one of us on, like, I don't know, Outlook has our emails, I guess. You can hit us up there. You can hit us up on Slack, message us on Facebook. Multiple ways of connecting. So, yeah.
So someone asked, I guess if we can explain what MLH is. So MLH is an organization called Major League Hacking, and what they essentially do is most major school hackathons, like Boilermake, MHacks, Hack Harvard, whatever, like those big hackathons, MLH will sponsor them. And they'll sponsor them, they'll send a representative, they might run workshops for them. They'll do a lot of the work for them. They'll do a lot of the advertising for them. They'll publish their event on their own platform. They will sometimes they'll have a hardware lab where people can like rent out, maybe you want like a Raspberry Pi or something, you can rent it out for free during the event. Essentially it's a big organization that teams up with hackathon teams across the country. So MLH is a really good resource if you're looking for public hackathons and datathons, whether it be hosted by schools or hosted by companies, but mostly hosted by schools. And they kind of treat themselves as kind of like a competitive hackathoning league, in that they also kind of tend to then go ahead and like kind of rank schools. Purdue's always kind of been towards the top, especially in like attendance. Actually, no, I think it was more so in performance in attendance. So we've always been kind of up there because we send a lot of people to a lot of schools, at least back when there were physical hackathons. Again, I don't know how they're changing their formats online, but the actual MLH.io website is a really great place to just browse through a couple of events that are coming up. You can, there's like some tabs you can click on to view the 2021 season. And there's some as soon as this month. Like I saw when I clicked on that, I saw like Hop Hacks is this weekend. That's the John Hopkins one, I think. Especially now in this time where all these events are going online and every organizing team's changing their format or changing their dates or things like that, it's a good resource to stay on top of if you're interested in the more competitive side of hackathoning.
I kind of want to like deviate from this question a bit and talk about like some like notable things that hackathons do differently. So last year when I was applying to Hack MIT, I was a bit late to the application, but I was working on their puzzles, and they have like a few hackathons do this too. They have very interesting puzzles, and so the idea is if you're like one of the first 50 people that complete their puzzle, you kind of get an automatic entrance. And obviously you can imagine Hack MIT is slightly competitive. They probably favor well, they do favor, the MIT students who go to MIT, and then everyone else is sort of just like a coin flip, right? So if you're really interested in going to Hack MIT, it's almost always better if you know someone at MIT who's on the organizing team. That's one way, but another way would be completing the puzzle. So their puzzles are really cool. It's like a very interesting kind of application process. And I've been trying to get like Boilermake to do that, but unfortunately we don't get, you're never like at full capacity. So it's never like a super competitive, I guess. But anyways, like every hackathon has like their own flavor, their own personality. And it's always like, two hackathons won't ever be identical, right? So it's always like, nice talking about like, okay, different companies come here. What's special about this one? Facebook is here, but Facebook is not here, etc., etc. But in general, definitely like check these events out, even though they're going to be virtual and they're going to definitely not be as cool as they were in person. It's still, nice to, check them out and just see, what they're up to and get familiar with them. Also, I quickly want to plug in this Medium article that was written by, I think it was Zach Johnson, who was one of our, actually, I'm not sure if it was Zach or not. Oh, it was Cole Johnson, sorry. He was one of our head of designs at Boilermake a few years ago. And if you're just interested in like how the design portion of hackathons work, it's a pretty nice read. And if you click on sort of the user, you can see some other articles that Boilermake has written. So just to get, if you're interested in that information, keep it up. Okay, it's 7 p.m. Do you want to wrap it?
Time to close it up, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to message us on Slack, email us on purduehackers@gmail.com, and be sure to come to the workshop tomorrow, if you can, obviously. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much for coming. Do either of you guys want to add anything? I think Brianna's also here. I just noticed. But anyways, any of you guys want to add something? Nope. Okay, cool. Then let's end it here. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.